Hello, peoples off the tube. I know I said I wasn't doing a video this week. I couldn't help it. I just wanted to. I'm going to do this as fleetingly and as briefly and as off the cuffily as I possibly can because, as I mentioned on Christmas Day, I recently acquired Shada, the new 2007 version of Shada, and today I watched it, and I thought let's talk about that because I loved it. I brief backstory. Don't worry, brief backstory. So I've wanted to see a full, complete version of Shada for a very long time now. I think I first encountered it about 10 years ago. Or ran across the story of Shada. I saw the BBC webcast version with Paul McGann, which is also a Big Finish audio play. And I was like, what is this? What's going on with this? I looked into it, found it was a whole story that was about half filmed. I was like, well, that's really interesting. I liked the story from the webcast version. Then a few years later, I saw the 1990s VHS version. I was like, oh, that's better. The bits that we have are better than the McGann versions. Great, but like this just feels like so close to being something great. It's got a similar vibe. Obviously, it's written by Douglas Adams. It's got a very similar vibe to City of Death, and City of Death is one of my favorite stories ever. I don't know if I'd say it's quite as good as City of Death, but it's close. I mean, it's got about as much goodness, but it's kind of stretched out over more episodes. But yeah, and I was like, if only it was completed, that would be great. And that was just not long after the animated release of The Invasion, parts 1 and 4 of The Invasion animated. I was like, well, hold on. Why don't they get the cast back in, record the lines, and animate the missing bits, and then sort of cut back and forth live action to animation, and release Shada like that? I was like, that would be a great thing to do. But then they didn't. Well, they kind of did eventually, but they didn't. You know, this is 7, 8, 9 years ago. Ian Levine, of course, no one's favourite person, he made an animated version, and I heard about this, and it was finished right about the time the original DVD was released, like 2012. I was like, what a great coincidence! Surely they'll release that on DVD. No, they didn't. They just released the VHS version again and the webcast Paul McGann version, which apparently I don't have the previous DVD version. I might get it. Probably won't bother, I don't know. Apparently you can only play the Paul McGann version on a computer. So that's kind of lame. But no, I was really annoyed about it. Since then I've seen quite a few bits of Ian Levine's Shada, and yeah, I can see why they didn't release it. I gather he was wanting more than they were willing to pay him. It's not particularly well done. It has almost all of the original cast. They replaced David Brierley with John Leeson, because obviously David Brierley is no longer with us. And they didn't have Tom Baker, so someone does a bad impression of him. But it doesn't feel very professional. The animation's kind of all over the place. It's not that great. But then, cut to this year, finally, we get Shada, an announcement. They've animated it, they've gotten everyone back together, including Tom. And I was over the moon. The thing is, a lot of people are wanting more things like Power of the Daleks. Power of the Daleks I loved. I mean, I already loved the story. I'd seen the reconstruction. I'd seen 2 different versions of the reconstruction. It's a great story. It's one of the best stories. But the thing with the animations of the missing episodes aren't going anywhere. They're missing. I mean, they might come. There's a potential for any missed, apart from Feast of Stephen. There's a potential for any missing episode to turn up. It's very unlikely, but it is possible. Shada will never be found because the bits that we don't have were never filmed. So, you know, there's no reason to not get on and do it. Also, we have limiting time factor. Tom Baker, much though we'd like to imagine him being around forever, he is now 83 years old, or yeah, 84 coming up, I think. That's he's not going to be with us forever. It's not a pleasant thought, but it's true. He is now 8 years older than Pertwee lived to. We need to get this done while it is doable. So the fact that they have now done it is great. I'm so happy. So yeah, I got this for Christmas. The DVD case. I've mentioned this before that I take when they've got the alternative covers, I take it out and I flip it round to put the to match them all up because the new BBC, well, it's not the new BBC logo. I think they've got rid of the purple square again for some of their stuff. I'm not a big fan of it because it looks, when you've got them on the shelf, some of them have and some of them don't. But all of the ones that have the purple square, you can flip them over and they've got the old style logo instead. Enemy of the World had a full page cover like that, and on the side it has the roundels at the top and the black logo instead of the white one. And I swapped it over because I prefer things to be uniform. I'm a bit particular like that. Shada, I was going to do that with. Shada, I mean, this is like this. I'm just going to show you again. You've all seen it. It's gorgeous. It is really nice. I was fawning over Lee Binding on Twitter. I was unusually complimentary for me. I just think he's great. I love his work. The reverse side, you see the Crag. I think they're called, these chaps here. I should know their names. I've just watched this. It's gone. It's not on the opposite cover. The diamond shape is pretty much all cut off. This PG logo, which I'd rather not have either of those PG logos. I just like the BBC logo on its own. I could just. Why do we need these? We don't need them on the spine. They're on the front. For some reason, this is all shifted up. There's the Tom Baker years blah 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 bit comes up to here with the 2Entertain logo, then the old BBC logo, and then all of this is shifted up so that this blue one is covering K9's laser beam. It's a mess. In short, it's a mess. So this is the only Doctor Who DVD cover that I have not switched over, but it's different enough. I think it's a story that was never broadcast. It's kind of its own thing. I can allow it to have the different cover. It looks fantastic. I can live with that. So the story itself it's a great story. I mean, it's not quite on the amazing spectrum that some people hype it up to be. It's more famous for not having been completed than it is for its own quality. But its own quality it's really good. It's Douglas Adams. It's a great story. I'm not going to go into the details of the story because you don't need to hear that here. You can watch it and see the story. Don't read the book. James Goss. Was it James Goss that did a novelisation, or was it? No, it's Gareth Roberts. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. Gareth Roberts, awful person. So yes, the new material. I will just go into my thoughts on the new material. They got Mike Tucker, who has done effects work on the classic series, to do model shots for some of the new material. There's a lovely model space station, a little ship taking off from the space station. There's a spinning TARDIS with the lamp that was only used in, I think, that one and maybe one other story. This blue. It wasn't used very much. It's one of these probably like siren lamps. It looks fantastic. It looks period appropriate. There's no CGI in it at all in the whole thing. Oh, I mean, some of the animation is computer based, but the model shots, apart from one cartoon spaceship which ties in, I'll explain in a minute, but the model shots look amazing. They're perfect. The animation is pretty much what we got in Power of the Daleks. The animation of the humans is slightly better. There's more sort of three-dimensional movement of scenery and camera work, and it matches the story. I mean, it's a later story, so we've got more complex camera movement available. Some of it's a bit iffy. The very first appearance of the animation is in what would be part one, and I'll get onto that as well if I remember. But yeah, we see Chris Parsons cycling, and it looks a bit weird and iffy. And then there's a huge long scene where he doesn't say anything, and it kind of feels a bit off. But once it hits its stride and you get used to it, it's great. It's really nice animation. One quibble: Tom Baker's coat is just slightly too light. I think it should be darker because he's wearing dark brown, chestnut brown velvet coat in the story, blue spotted waistcoat. This one's wearing a light brown coat and like a dark brown waistcoat. Why? No idea. The voice acting, on the whole, is great. I've heard people saying that Tom Baker sounds bored in it. He is clearly having so much fun. There's a featurette of him in the recording booth. He's having a great time. It's really nice to hear him and to see it. Well, to see him in the old footage, to hear him in the new footage, or the other way around. Who knows? It's really nice. K9, who, as I said, David Brierley is no longer around. Ian Levine recast him as back to John Leeson for his version. They managed to dig out enough stock sound of David Brierley to fit in and fill in his lines. There's only one of them that seems a bit like out of place, where he says, I think he said something like "Danger, Doctor," and he's not talking to the Doctor. That kind of felt a bit weird, but I'm really glad because he is K9 for that series. So having him in Shada, it seems nice. It seems appropriate. Dennis Carey has one line in the animation, and I don't understand where they got it from. It sounds like him. As far as I'm aware, there's no other casting listed for Notice. So where that line came from, it sounds a bit weird. So maybe I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but it's nice. It's nice to have all these chaps, and everyone else came back. The weakest performance is Lala Ward. She sounds quite flat in animation. It's a shame because she's in more animation than most people. Quite a lot of her stuff is in cartoon form. It's kind of understandable. She has now done Shada 5 times. There's the original Shada she was in. The Paul McGann webcast she was in. She did the Ian Levine version. She read the audiobook of Gareth Roberts' book, and now she's done this. So I can see she's probably gotten a bit bored of Shada. That's fair enough. But everyone else I thought was great. And she wasn't terrible. I'm surprised they didn't just, like, some of her flatter lines. If it was me, I'd have just plucked something from the webcast if the lines are similar enough. Um, I don't think they really could have gone to Levine and taken his. I wouldn't personally, even if they were better takes. But yeah, on the whole, voice acting great, animation great, the special effects, the model shots great. I love them. Yeah, the way that it's cut, it tends to be sections in video, sections in animation. It doesn't tend. There's one scene where they're running towards a door, and they're a cartoon, and they come through the door, and it's live action. That's the most sort of cutting from one to the other that you get. There's a few little sneaky bits. There's a shot where K9 just never comes through the door, but they filmed on video a new shot of K9 in front of, clearly in front of a blue screen, I think, background. Might have been green. But he's chroma keyed in front of the door, and that's that's what it looks like it to me, at least. I could be wrong. A few little bits like that. Not many. I was expecting more things like that. And because of this, the establishing shots for the science research station are all done as models. The establishing shots for Skagra's main ship are all cartoon, which is kind of weird. It's a shame that we didn't have a model for that, but at the same time, everything on that ship is a cartoon, so it makes sense for the establishing shot to also be a cartoon. There's a bit of a strange thing with another strange thing with Tom's coat. I'm not going to go into detail about there's a bit at the end. Everyone knows what the thing at the end is. At the same time, I'm not going to say what it is, because maybe you don't. Maybe somehow you've escaped all this information on what happened, what the ending is, the special scene that's the ending. But anyway, because of some continuity stuff, the Doctor's jacket with his coat changes, and at the very end he's wearing a different coat, and I can allow it because the story's finished. He's left. He's mulling things over in the TARDIS, maybe going off on another adventure. Maybe he's changed his coat. But there is another scene, a special effects scene, where we see the Doctor flying off into the distance. And I saw the filming of this effect. It's a guy with a green thing on his face in Tom Baker's costume, on a chair, flapping his arms in front of the green screen. But he's wearing the sand-coloured coat from City of Death, etc. Destiny of the Daleks, Horns of Nimon, all those stories. I was trying to think of Power of Crawl. That's the first story it appeared in. and in the other rest of the tour, obviously, is wearing the chestnut velvet one. But the lighting is as such. You've got to really be looking. You've got to know that it's that coat and look and see the coat. Otherwise, it just looks like the brown one. It's not too bad. I don't know why they didn't just like. It's that guy. Sewage knows his name. I don't remember what the guy's name is. That makes these really nice Doctor Who costume replicas. He made the coat, I believe. So it is like going to be 100% accurate to that coat. But why not get him to give them one that's 100% accurate to the other coat? I don't know. I don't know why they did that. But I'm okay with that. I can live with it. So yes, last point. Music. The VHS release has Kev McCulloch music. It's not bad music. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not period appropriate. Kev McCulloch started in 1987, I think. That was his first appearance on Doctor Who as music composer. And this is 1979 to 1980. I mean, it would have been broadcast in 1980 if it had gone out. It didn't. So it should have been Dudley Simpson music. Now Dudley Simpson is sadly no longer with us, but Mark Ayres did new music, and it's very similar. There's a sort of main theme that plays constantly throughout it, particularly in the Cambridge scenes, and it's very similar to the City of Death theme. It's different. It's different enough that you're like, oh, I'm expecting this bit, and it does a different thing. It's like when you see it yourself, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's great. It's really nice theme. It's really appropriate, really fitting, and just as that extra nice little nod, the whole thing is dedicated to Dudley Simpson, which made me feel happy. So I've talked for a quarter of an hour. That's long enough. I said I was going to keep it concise. That's as concise as we're going. Basic summary. You can skip to this point if you want my skipping to summary thoughts. Model shots, great. Animation, really liked it. Voice performances, apart from Lalla Ward, who wasn't quite there. Everyone else great. Music, great. The whole thing, great. I've wanted this to exist for longer than I'd care to admit I have been around for. It's wonderful. It's everything I could have wanted. I'm so happy it exists. Oh yes, my one gripe, my only gripe. No, I've got two. I've got two gripes. One, back to the music. The theme music. For some reason, they've used what sounds like the Patrick Troughton theme music instead of the Tom Baker one. It sounds slightly different. They've scanned the Tom Baker, like from the film, the Tom Baker title sequence, and it looks great. It looks really high definition. It still has those weird. I don't know if look when you're watching the any Tom Baker episode apart from Series 18. Well, after his face disappears, just before the logo comes in, there's two weird shapes in these bottom corners of the screen. They are from John Pertwee's cloak, from the original version of that title sequence. John Pertwee's body flies out, and the vortex comes in the shape of his body. And at the bottom, there's these two shapes where the bottom of his cloak was that clip the screen for a couple of frames. And I noticed one before I noticed. Oddly, I noticed a smaller one before I noticed the big one. They are still there. They are still there. But yeah, for some reason they played the wrong theme music, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. It doesn't seem quite right. It seems a bit off. I can live with it. The thing that bothers me more, it's one big feature. It's 2.5 hours, roughly. It's not 6 individual episodes. You've got to watch it as one big thing. I don't even know if there's scene selection. There must be scene selection. But yeah, 6 episodes as an option would have been nice. It would be nice if we'd had, watch it as one thing or watch it as 6 different bits. It holds well as a film. I watched it in one big block, and I liked it a lot. It worked. It works as a film. You can imagine it as a Doctor Who feature film. It's kind of got almost the scope for it. But yeah, a 6-episode version would have been nice if you only wanted to watch it in bits. That's my biggest gripe with it. Is that everything else, it's great. Like I said, I'm really happy this exists. I strongly recommend. I could not recommend enough. Get this. I mean, wait. If you don't want to pay £14 for it, wait for it to cheapen down a bit. It's not, if you wait a year, it'll be like £7, maybe £8. But I could not wait. I actually waited longer than I should have done. This was £1 cheaper for a while when it was on pre-order. I missed a window there, but it's great. I've got it for Christmas. This is. I mean, it's been outdone as a favourite Christmas gift by some other things. I got, obviously, the signed Jonathan Morris book is more personal a gift for me. But this is a close second. This is great. Love it. I love it. You should also love. I mean, you might love it. You might like it. You should definitely give it a go. It's great. It's better than the Ian Levine version. It's better than the VHS version. It's better than the Paul McGann version. I've not read the Gareth Roberts book because I don't like Gareth Roberts, but I bet it's better than that too. Give it a try. Don't ask me why. 20 minutes now. Where did the last 5 minutes go? I'm me. I said I wasn't going to do a video this week. I was wrong. See you in a couple of weeks when I do a placeholder video. See, this is what I should be doing, Ludo. Is just making one when something inspiration comes. Or not. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. It's so hard. After what 15, 16 videos in a row, so hard to resist the urge to do Christmas face. I need to get out of that mind frame. It's the 4th of January. We're almost past 12th night. It's almost time to take these decorations down. I say decorations. It's three cards I got sent this year. It's three. Only 3 people like me. I've got a temporary. I'm not fixing my lamp yet. I've got these set up to just try and get the lighting nice. Bye.